I am your viewer of the month for Project Lifesize. This is video number 3. This week's topic, I believe, is as a kid I was, fill in the blank. As a kid I was many things. Lots of memories of being a kid I don't really care for. So I kind of figured what I would do is cover a timeline of sorts from being a kid to being a teenager and early adult, which for me was my happy childhood, my early adulthood. I found a family of friends that changed my life, and I traveled a lot. I did the whole hippie in a bus gig and lived on the road for a little bit, and it was kind of the childhood I felt like I missed. It was a rocky start to my growing up experience. The sort of a lot of the normal stuff, parents getting divorced, my mom had me really young. She was 17 when she got pregnant with me. She wasn't really prepared to have a kid. She did the best that she could. And, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time with my dad. I know him better now as an adult than I did as a kid. He was around, but, it was one of those relationships with your family that is a mixture of crazy and bittersweet. And, there was some strange abuse, not necessarily by my immediate family, but blah, blah, blah. So I was an only child and very imaginative to the point that I got in trouble in school because I didn't pay attention. I always felt kind of like an outsider. As I got older, it's always creative, always artistic. I think that was sort of my escape out of a lot of the reality of my life. As I got older into my teens, my preteens and teens, I got into the punk scene and started going to clubs at like 11, 12, all ages clubs, punk clubs. I was kind of a mess at this point. I was just lost and I was just broken and a mess. And it's sad to say that, at 11, 12, 13, a kid could feel that way, but I think, unfortunately, a lot of kids go through that. And when I was 13 going into 14, we were moving, and I remember being at my house. My mom and stepdad had gone to our new house, and I was there at the old house, like just doing some packing and stuff while they ran stuff over to the new place. And I just remember thinking, like, this is a fresh start. Like, this is a new day. This is like a whole new life. And I can, I've always been very self-helpy. Like, even before I knew that that was such a thing. Like, I've always been about, how can I be better? How can I, grow and expand in my soul? And, very, in tune with that part of myself, even at, 13. And I didn't like God. It was the 80s, so it was like the televangelist age, and I was just sort of at war with all things spiritual, and, why would I have gone through some of the things I went through if you were there, God? And I just remember being in that house, and I just, I didn't go to church. My family wasn't religious. I just had this completely, God-drenched experience. I don't know. And I remember finding a book that we happened to have. It was by Billy Graham, and it talked about peace with God and all this stuff. And I became a Christian that day, and it has been a huge part of my life since then. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for God. So that was a huge transformation for me. My life changed a lot. I was never a religious person, but definitely a Christian, definitely what I prefer to call a Jesus freak. a little bit of a hippie, Jesus freak style Christian. And to this day, that's me. I was very into art and sort of high-end art, New York. I wanted to move to New York and have a loft, and I was into fashion, and I was into the punk scene still, but I was this weird hybrid of like punk meets hippie meets like super arty Andy Warhol girl, and I got into painting and drawing, and I was just saturated in all kinds of music, and I would sit in my room and drink hot tea and listen to, just like this show that we have locally that was called Wheelchair Jazz, and it was like all this avant-garde crazy jazz music and classical music and Tracy Chapman. And so that was my mid-teen years. And in my late teens, early 20s, I found a woman that changed my life. I was like just looking for home and family and something where I felt like I had a sense of, belonging and a sense of history. And by this point, I was very into like sort of a hippie lifestyle and the 60s and, the political movement of the 60s and sort of just, that whole vibe. And I met my friend Songy. I believe I was 20, 21 at the time, probably 20, and she was like 34. And we started traveling together. Just an amazing experience. We went on tour with the Grateful Dead. We went to rainbow gatherings, which I'll put a bunch of links on the sidebar, because I don't know if a lot of people these days, especially younger people, know what all that is. I don't know how popular or not popular that is anymore. It's kind of an underground movement at the time. It really just revolutionized my life. I learned how to live on very little money. I would work for months at the time, come back home, work, and then leave again. It was a amazing time, and it had its good and its bad, but it was amazing. I met so many people. I lived in the woods for, month or whatever, and then we'd travel some more. And that for me really was my childhood. It was the magic that childhood should hold. It was, it was the heartache that childhood holds, but within reason. It was feeling safe at home, but it was also like feeling adventurous and kind of wild. It was everything that I think I needed as a kid but didn't get. The good and the bad. Instead of what I did get as a kid, which was just feeling really scared all the time. I know that's not necessarily as a kid I was, but it's for me, it feels that way. So I hope that makes sense to you and jives with what this topic is about this week. I have to dig around for happy memories. So I would rather tell you guys about something where I felt like it was the childhood I needed and just happened to get it late in life. So, but anyway, that's that. And I'm going to give you like a picture montage now of like being a kid up to my early 20s. And I hope you enjoy it. So here we go.